To prepare you for future assignments, let's talk about how to insert charts and tables into your PowerPoint presentation. As you can see, I'm just using, what was this, 4.6, assignment 4.6, and I'm just going to create a new slide. Now remember, there are a couple ways of doing this. I'm just going to go to the Insert ribbon. You'll see the New Slide button here. If I hit this little button here, I'm going to choose Title and Content. So if I click there, you'll see a brand new blank slide appears. Now you'll have two placeholders like you normally do. Let's just call this Financials for now. And you'll see that there are a lot of, quite a few buttons to select from in the second placeholder. Let's start with a chart. Let's click here. And you'll see that you could use pie charts, line, column. I mean, there's all sorts of charts that you can insert into your presentation. I kind of like the column or bar graphs, and I like the 3D, so I'm going to choose this one for now. It's a 3D bar graph, or it's called a clustered column. And then from there, I'm just going to hit OK. Now, the cool thing about PowerPoint charting is it's linked with an Excel spreadsheet. So if you've used spreadsheets before, this will be nothing new. But if you've not used a spreadsheet, it's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is populate the different cells here. You can see they've already created a mini spreadsheet for you. So if I wanted to track sales as an example, in series up here, I'll just type in the first one, which is January. I could just do the first quarter, February, and then March. And let's pretend these are our sales people. I'll just add in some names here. Bob, Paul, Marlene, Kathy, as an example. And to populate the values here, I'm just going to pre-select the range. And I'll just type in some random values here. Okay, you'll see that as I type them in, the bars start to appear in my graph. You see that? I'm just typing in numbers. And then, let's say, here and then here, I'll just put in 1,000. 900. All right. When you're done, if you wanted to add a chart title, you could just double click in here and replace this with whatever you want. We could just call this first quarter. And then when you click away from the chart, you'll see, actually I could close this. You could place this chart wherever you'd like. You could just click and drag. Now be careful when it comes to moving a chart or a graph. You want to be careful where you place your pointer on the chart, because every single element of a graph like this can be clicked, it could be reformatted, it could be moved by dragging. So if you want to reposition your graph, go out here into this plot area or chart area. Avoid the grids or the bars. Stay out here. You can see the symbol. And then click and drag it. You see that? They can also be resized by grabbing the resizing handles, just like your images. You can make them bigger or smaller. And then remember to move it. Just stay out here in the chart area and drag it. So charting and graphing is pretty easy. If you decide you needed to edit the chart, maybe the numbers have changed. Let's say this value here, this is the February sales for Marlene. Let's say this should have been 4,000 instead of 5,000. You could just make sure that you click on the chart again, make sure it's selected. You'll see that once it's selected, you can go into chart design, and then here you'll see a section or a button for edit data. Now when I click here, it brings back the spreadsheet. And remember I said Marlene's sales should be changed to 4,000. Type over that, hit enter. You can see that her bar just dropped down to the 4,000 level. So it's really nice. At any point you can edit the data and then close this when you're done. And you get a better look. Let's do the same for Kathy. Let's say her March sales here should have been 3,500. Again, all you have to do, let's pretend for a moment I clicked away. Notice I don't have any of the chart elements here or the special ribbon. But if you double click on the chart, look at that. You get into the chart design ribbon, and then I could click on edit data, and then I can make that change. So for Kathy, instead of 5,000, that should have been 3,500. I hit enter, and see how it just drops down to the 3,500 mark. And then I could close this again and move on. So at any point you can change the data points, the values, and whenever you make that change, okay, let me do this again. I'm going to double click. I'll go here to edit data. Whenever you edit the data here in the spreadsheet, the bars will automatically reflect that change. It will update automatically. Again, just as an example, let's say Bob here had a, let's see, March sales. This should have been, let's say 3,000 instead of 1,000. Well, I'll just go back up here. So Bob for March sold 3,000, and keep your eye on this bar. See how it increases. And then when you're done, simply close the spreadsheet and you're in business. So charting and graphing is pretty straightforward. All right, let's say you wanted to create another slide. This one will contain a table under the insert ribbon. Now careful, don't click on this top button for new slide. Remember, there's two parts to it. Click on this bottom one that says new slide. It's a drop down, which will let you select the slide layout. I'm going to choose title and content again. So I'll click here, and there we go. So here's my new slide. We'll just call this one, let's just call it Financials 2 for now. And then I'm going to choose this, the Insert Table button. And we're going to create, let's say, a 3x3 table, 3 columns, 3 rows. Let's say 3 columns, 4 rows. Okay, I'll hit OK. Here we go. Don't worry about the formatting. We can always change this later. And let's say we wanted to, in this first one here, put in our salespeople. I'm just going to keep it short for now. And then, and let's say we wanted to put in the first 3 months. So the first quarter, we'll set this one up like we did our chart earlier. But I do need one more column. It's real easy to insert a column or a row. Watch this. In this last column, I could right click. And then here you'll see that there's an insert columns. I want this one to the right. There's my 4th column. So here I'll just call this one January, February, March, just like we did in the previous graph. And then it's just a matter of populating the cells. So I'll just put in random numbers for now. By the way, to move from cell to cell, if I want to go to the next cell to the right, I'll hit Tab. See this? Tab. If I want to go down, I could arrow down with my keyboard. See that? I could grab my mouse, click here. I could do all sorts of things. So you can just navigate using the keyboard, or your mouse for that matter. Okay, so here I'll just type in, again, I'm just typing in random numbers. But you'll see it's real easy to create a table and then populate it. And again, if you want to move the table, you want to go to the edge, see that? And if you want to resize it, it's always use the corners. right? But for now, if you want to move it, you click on the table first and then go to one of the edges until you see that symbol and then just drag it. So be careful. If it looks like this, oh, well, it works. You need to be careful. Just pay attention to the shape of the pointer. It has to be this four-way directional arrow like that before you start dragging it around. So tables is pretty straightforward. You could also add a row. Let's say I wanted to add 1, 2, 3, 4, a fifth row. You could just right click somewhere here inside of this fourth row, and then here again click on the insert, let's say rows below. Let's say you wanted to insert a row, a fifth row here. All you have to do is, I'm going to go to this last row here in the bottom. I'm just going to right click, and then in this little mini toolbar I'll go to the insert button and I'll select rows below, insert rows below, and look at that. So I could add a fourth student, or in this case salesperson, sorry. And I'm just making up numbers again. Deleting is pretty easy as well if you decide, you know what, I don't need to track the entire first quarter, I just want January and February. Again, if you just right click and let's say you want to get rid of this last column, right click, see this, delete, I'll just select column. Same thing here, if I want to get rid of this last row, right click, go here to delete row. Just like that. So columns and rows are what comprise a table, and PowerPoint makes it easy to insert them into your presentation. And that goes the same for charts and graphs.